Hello, welcome to May 15th, 2023. It's a Monday. My name is Kurt Bell, and this is my daily Good Life meditation video. This is an exercise that I do every morning, just a little bit after waking up. It's now spot on 4:30 a.m. I do this in order to remember my life objectives and principles, those which are outlined in my book, Going Alone. I also use this time to think about the last 24 hours, including my sleep, and reflect on how I did with any challenges or opportunities that I encountered. I finish up by forecasting the day ahead in terms of opportunities and challenges, and to prepare my mind and my body, even if I can, with the fortitude and resolve, and arm myself with the readiness of principles to face the day. To face the day so that I can make the day a good use of time. So first, let's talk about last night and yesterday. Slept pretty good last night. Actually, I was able to keep the mask on, the CPAP mask, for probably a good 45 minutes before I took it off. Still working up, but that's improvement. That's about 30 minutes longer than before. Can't really say that I fell asleep. I kind of dozed a little bit, but and I don't think that 45 minutes made much difference. But it's progress of a sort. Didn't wake up thinking about work last night. Didn't wake up at all, really, just until 10 minutes before the alarm went off, and then I just closed my eyes and went back to a deep sleep for 10 minutes, and then the alarm woke me. So a good restful night was well worth it. Had a wonderful evening last night. Oh my gosh, after a very full day. Yumiko and I are helping our daughter to move out of her dormitories. She'll be moving into an apartment to finish her senior year in university. So we moved her out of her dormitory yesterday, and we just had the most wonderful time. It was Mother's Day, so we had a nice Mother's Day lunch. We went to a beautiful arboretum. It was Emily's idea at the school. They have this beautiful arboretum. We had such a nice time. And then when we got back home, when Yumiko and I did our shopping, and when I got home, I went to the beach, and I had a beach day. It's like I haven't had since I was a boy, and at the same beach. I have such memories of Huntington Beach, where I live now, which is the first home I ever had when I was born. My family lived here. They had bought a house in really one of the best areas here in Huntington Beach. My mom told me they had the house built for $13,000. And at a time when my father was in junior college transitioning to university, and my mom was working a job, which I think you would call it like an office job. It's just too amazing to think that was a time when an up-and-coming couple like that could build a brand new house in one of the most premier areas of a place like Huntington Beach. Anyway, that's the house that I was born into and I live. So this is my home, and I have memories of, although we left here before that, before I got older, my family would come back by my young boy years. And I have such memories of playing in the surf here in Huntington Beach, and just the rolling waves after waves of cascading water, and the warm and cold at the same time, and just so much fun. And since I've been back in America for these last 9 years, I haven't really had a day like that. But yesterday was that day. It was a beach day like when I was a boy, and that sunk in. Maybe that's the cause of my good sleep and my seeming vitality this morning. Good. Let's do the good life. My 7 objectives are as follows. Number 1 is to always be ready to die. That means that I want to have my affairs and my relationships and my life's work in order and complete before, so that if I die right now, I've left things in a settled state, if not complete, at least settled. And that certainly is the case. There's no unsettled elements in my life anymore. I maintain that pretty good. My second objective is to make good and effective use of my time, to live my life in such a way that I'm not frittering away the hours and as a result the days. And I'm a pretty deliberate liver these days. My third objective is to develop and maintain good and sound life principles. That is precisely these 7 objectives and 34 principles that I'm talking about right now. And I tinker with these every day. My main vehicle of doing that is this very exercise, the Good Life Creed, where I think about these things and to a greater or lesser degree examine them. I also have all of these things in my book, Going Alone, which you can actually buy in this video down below where the video is playing right now. There should be a link to the book. You can buy it there. If you buy it from there, you get it's a signed copy. It'll come illustrated. It comes with a picture in the front. Okay. The people that buy them that way, they get the illustrated like this. This is hand drawn and then signed as well. My fourth objective is to cultivate good emotional reactions, to become a man who reacts well to life, who doesn't fly off the handle or let my emotions lead me around. Pretty much that guy now. I have my moments. Next is to perform good actions, just to do good things throughout the day. Next is to recognize my true limits and my true opportunities. I'll tell you a story about the other one, the perform good actions. Yesterday, I tried to perform a little good deed as I was moving the car out of the parking space. I noticed a big metal, like a pin, like a giant staple, about that long. And they used this landscape staple that they used to hold down the weed cover thing, ground cover thing. And I saw that on the road, and I thought, that's going to give someone a flat tire. So I picked it up, and I walked over to where our dumpster is here in this apartment complex, and I threw it over the wall to the dumpster, and it missed entirely and went on the other side. The reason I had to throw it was I was on this side of the gate to our complex. The dumpster's outside the complex, and I thought I can toss it over and get it in, and I missed. And it went in the grass and the landscape outside, and I thought, dang it, now it's going to get hung up on the gardener's lawnmower. So I went outside the gate, which then slammed shut and locked behind me, but I had my key. And I went over and I grabbed the thing. Now someone had been moving out, so the dumpster was piled with their stuff. And I picked up the thing and I tried to throw it in, and it hit that person's stuff and bounced out and went down on the side of the dumpster. And when I went, oh darn it, so I had to open up the latch thing, which is always kind of gooey. And I had to go in there, and it had overflown with trash from that person moving, so I had to dig through that to find it. And then I was locked out, and I just thought to myself, no good deed goes unpunished, right? But at least I got the satisfaction of maybe saving someone a punctured tire, or the gardener a startling moment when his whirling blade meets the metal. I saved them from that. That feels good. It's the spirit of that principle. The next principle is to hold on, what is it? Called it good emotional reactions. Oh yeah, recognize my true limits and my true opportunity. Probably one of the most vital objectives that I use all the time. I mean, I use it throughout the day, going into meetings and tackling things at work or even in anything. Yesterday I used this one along with Temperance, which is its close cousin. I was on the freeway in the number 3 lane of all things, of a 4 lane plus a commuter lane freeway, and I got a guy behind me just riding my rear. And so I recognize my true limits are that I can't control what he's doing. My true opportunity, on the other hand, was to take the mature road out, turn on the signal, and move out of his way. Even though he had a lane he could have gone around, I moved over to the way and just let him go by. Temperance, and recognize true limits and true opportunity. Next and the last objective is to do just one thing at a time, and do that thing slowly and deliberately and carefully and with a measured cadence. Okay, those are my objectives. Those are the things that I'm seeking to do in my life. Pretty simple. Nothing Nothing too challenging. All based on just real stuff. But in no way easy. But with practice it gets easier. All right, next. Now my 34 principles. Number 1 is war. To always be fighting against whatever I think is true. To not settle or rest on belief. Number 2 is the principle of reason. And it has 4 sub-principles. Honesty, objectivity, doubt, and humiliation. I want to be honest with myself and others. Objective in my view. A fierce skeptic, and I want to welcome the humiliation of discovering when I'm wrong. The third principle that is the homunculus. Just the simple suggestion that though I may not have a soul, I do certainly have a consciousness, it seems. And I'll focus on managing that consciousness. The next principle goes together with the homunculus, is called the anchor hold. The anchor hold suggests that my consciousness is trapped within my body, particularly right around up here. It feels like it's right there. And it's going to die with me. So no immortality, no forever. Death is coming soon, and that'll be the end. It's a good thing to keep in mind. It's activating towards a better living now. Next is the home of good and evil. Right and wrong are just mere opinions that we have. They can be based on objective observations of the world, but nevertheless they're opinions. And as such, it's important that we develop them carefully and maintain them. Next comes the principle of purpose. I have 3 purpose, as I think I said already. To be, no, I didn't say this. It was something different. To be a good husband and father. That's my first purpose in life. And these are ranked in terms of importance. My second purpose is to be a virtuous human being. Although really, I guess that those are tied together, right? I can't really be a good husband and father if I'm not virtuous. So maybe I should swap those around. Maybe I should say virtuous, to be a virtuous human being, a good husband and father. That's what I'm going to do. See, this is fulfillment of that third objective, right? Which is to develop and maintain good and sound life principles, fiddling with the things and moving around their order. I'll have to move that in the book. Switch it. That book. The third sub-principle is the third sub-principle of purpose is to fulfill whatever personal mission I have in life, which at this point of my life is the sharing of the message and story of my book, Going Alone. Next is the atomic principle. Everything is made of bits and pieces, atoms and molecules and compounds, and they're always falling to pieces, building up and falling down, always just cycling around. So too you and me, soon. Dust, atoms, energy, and no more. At least no more of us. Next comes the principle of nature. Everything and everyone has a particular nature, and it's good to recognize what that is, and if possible, abide it. It's pretty rare that we can actually change what's outside of us, but we can at least recognize the nature of the way the world works. We might not like it, we may think it's not right, but we can recognize our true limits and true opportunities and act accordingly. Next comes the pirate ride, a simple suggestion that free will doesn't exist. We are connected to everything going on in the universe, and what seems to be our choices are really simply the results of the nudgings of the universe at large. Free will is a very convincing illusion, but an illusion nonetheless. Next comes maturity. Maturity is that state that we reach when we are wise, strong, Okay, there's sub-principles of maturity: wisdom, fortitude, and, oh yeah, and when we're wise and strong, wisely remembering our past successes and failures and strength, having the fortitude to do better, we can then enjoy the integrity of a life lived in accordance with our values. Next comes the social principle. We are social creatures and we need each other. The sub-principles here are diplomacy, the art of working together; justice, defining the ends of society; and conspiracy, linking arms to make those ends realized. Next comes the principle of family. Family is a good thing to have. It can be the type that you put a ring on, or it can be the type of family that you develop through your chosen associations. I saw a guy on Facebook this morning, the local Huntington Beach community, just putting a post that says, "I'm new here, looking for friends. Anyone want to be a friend?" And people are like out there like, "Yeah, I'll be your friend." Like, there you go. Creating a family in a new place, just taking the first step of posting out there, "I'm new here, looking for a friend." Within 3 posts down, there was someone else that said, "Yeah, if you're looking for a male best friend, I'll be your male." I mean, I didn't know people did that. Just like, I guess I remember doing that when I was a boy. There was one young boy when I was in kindergarten. We just walked up to each other and said, "Want to be best friends?" And we were. I guess that carries on. That still happens in adulthood. Why not? The sub-principle of family is catalyst. Family, I put that in there because family is a catalyst towards a lot of good things. Like if you have a family, especially if you have kids, that's a catalyst towards the hard work that we might have to do in life and not giving up to achieve good ends. Next comes public speaking is the next principle. Public speaking is that thing that we do to communicate better, to listen and speak and write better. The sub-principles here are best words, to develop a rich and deep vocabulary and then use that vocabulary well, not to flatter or to impress, but to communicate well. Then literature, the reading of great literature to form a foundation of ideas and stories in our head, which really serve us well throughout our lives. In prudence, the ability to filter our communication through our values, so that what we're saying is in alignment with what we think is good. And then felicity, the ability to season our communication with our emotions, which gives it flavor. Then eloquence, the ability to communicate well, especially speaking, and that comes through modeling and practice. And then there's 3 more, I think. Maybe just 2 more. These are negatives. Spreading rumors is a nasty thing to do. Don't do that. And gossip, engaging in gossip. Don't do those 2 things too. So that thing too. That's it. Next comes temperance, which is our ability to control our consumption of life, of all things. And the sub-principles here are suffering, because we suffer when we tell ourselves no. Simplicity, because a simple life is a temperate life. And apathy, the beautiful ability to disconnect ourselves from those things that are beyond our reach. I'm not too worried about any hurricanes blowing in the clouds of Jupiter. To get caught outdoors in a rainstorm, oh wow. Just seek some shelter, but don't get upset. Okay. I didn't do a very good job of that one, but I think the point comes across. Next comes, after temperance comes, life will not go well, and it won't. Expect speed bumps throughout the day and throughout your life. The next principle is the horror show. Some of those speed bumps are horrific. They'll take you out. And there's one coming for every one of us. There's one in the road for every one of us. A speed bump to take us out. Expect it. Some of them are long and drawn out. Some of them are instantaneous. And The people all around us are having their speed bumps. There are some speed bumps that are so grave as to almost take us out, as to seemingly do so. Maybe we almost wish that it had taken us out, but they don't. They leave us behind in suffering. That's the horror show of life. It's real, and I try to remind myself of that and be sensitive to those that are going through horror and to be cognizant of the horror that awaits me. The next principle is called that which must be borne, B-O-R-N-E, carried. And what we have to bear, is the fact that life won't go well and the fact of the horror show. Next comes the Feast of Offal. This principle, it is, speaks to our self-control, our ability to control our expression of emotion so that we're not being unduly upset in the face of others and thus passing our emotions over to them, but being in better control. Next comes distraction. It's what we do to keep ourselves busy, and so that we, in some ways, so that we don't have to see that God doesn't exist. Because if we can keep busy with all the things we have to do in life, then we can't apprehend the emptiness of the universe at large. And that I call that universal emptiness, the great indifference, which is the name of the next principle. So those two kind of go together. Distraction and agency and the great indifference are a pair. And that's why I call my book Going Alone, because the first part of the book is about going forth and witnessing the emptiness and then reconciling that against our desire to live well, which is then the remainder of the story. That's the good life. So my book has a happy ending, and it's not just about going alone. It's also about coming back and doing something good with what's left. Okay, now comes the best seat in the house. A reminder to try to be okay with who I am and where I am and what I'm doing at all times. Then comes the path of wildness. It's easy to find. It's the course of a stream, leaves blown in the wind, a beast tracked through the brush, and the direction of our first inclination. The path of wildness is the tentative at first step forward into a new life. It's the segue between great life adventures. And that's the next principle, by the way, the great life adventure, which is what comes of stepping upon the path of wildness and keeping going forward. Now, the great life adventure may be a tough one, or it might be an easy one. In either case, it becomes an adventure and a story, something that's ours and helps to form and make us who we are. We get our stories that way. Then comes the risk of avoiding risk. There's risk in being too safe in life. There's also risk in being too adventurous. The trick is to find the middle ground. And you can pepper it with extremes on either side. It's a pendulum swing. But in the end, it should kind of measure out. Next comes the sin and damnation. The sin in this case, since I don't believe in God and I don't believe in absolute right and wrong, these sins are against well-being, against our better ends. And namely, they relate to believing things too readily or being dishonest. So to that end, there are 8 of them, 8 sins. The last 2 are kind of different. These are falsity, being untrue, credulity, believing things too readily, faith, belief founded upon belief, which doesn't make any sense, superstition, more nonsense, dogma, belief founded upon tradition or an authoritative or canonical text of some sort, institutional belief, authority, belief because we're impressed by someone's charisma or their pointy hat, rumor again, and gossip again. Nasty things. And the reason I call them sins is they're sins against better living. The consequence of engaging in any of these is damnation, but not in any afterlife, in the here and now. Next comes complete oblivion. without a soul, and with no God or heaven or hell, death is the end. And we won't see our loved ones again, and we won't have a chance to reconcile our differences, and we won't see any justice served after we're dead, because that'll be the end of them and us. So work on those things when we have a chance during the course of our lives. Next comes the season of philosophy, which is a time to record our ideas when they come. Keep a pen and paper handy and write them down when they happen, because they'll be gone in a second and they'll never come back, or at least not the same. Next comes script writing. It's a little trick that I use to forecast the minutes, hours, and days ahead, thinking about what's to come, challenging meetings, difficult problems to solve, and forecasting in my mind how I'll meet those things. The bullseye aim is the next principle, and it's a partner to script writing. The bullseye aim suggests that I should expect to never really quite hit a bullseye. Maybe rarely I'll hit the bullseye, but I should expect not that. Just to get as close as I can, and not to be upset when I miss, but to be overjoyed when I do hit the mark. Next comes the uphill climb, steady upward motion. Finishing the day higher, stronger, and with a more expansive vista ahead of me than yesterday. Never stopping to dig a hobbit hole into the side of the mountain of life, but to keep on climbing. Although I'll never reach any top, and there is no top, and there is no up. Now comes arena and utility. Life is this arena where we get to develop our objectives and principles and then live out our days applying those towards these better ends. The better ends that we decide. The better ends that we negotiate with the world around us and our society and our family. And we strive to live towards, to live out. Next comes, and we're almost done, nothing is enough. A simple reminder to be all right with who I am and where I am and what I'm doing, like that one principle before. Just realize that those two kind of sound alike with that capacity, but it's more than that. Nothing is enough is, I believe, a deep wellspring. It's the curtain to an entire universe of things to explore that I'm going to explore when I think I'll have a chance to explore when I get to Japan. It's kind of it's the doorway into maybe what might be next for me in terms of, the life of thought. And lastly, the last principle is the principle of fun. A reminder to strive to enjoy my days and to enjoy the remembrance of my yesterdays and to plan for the good days to come. That's it. That's my Good Life Creed. Now, let's finish this by forecasting the day. It's a good day. It'll be a good Monday. I had another very successful week last week. It's been a very successful, how long has it been? A year and a half in my new job, so to speak, my new old job. My projects have gone well. This week I'll have a chance to plan for the next project, work with the team. But just had another successful go live last week, and we're heading into another round. I have only a few meetings today and lots of time to catch up on next steps and tie up loose ends. I don't anticipate being ambushed by anything in particular. So with that, I think I'll wrap this up. But I will go to the beach after work. I'm looking forward to that. I wish you all the best. Be safe, but not too safe. And with that, my life is done, if not finished. See ya.